The illegitimate child my father brought home wore shoes inside and dirtied my expensive carpet. I scolded him. Defective goods are defective goods. Not even the most basic manners. Behind me, my stepmother was staring at me with venomous eyes. The illegitimate child tried to win her over to deal with me, but before he could even open his mouth, he got slapped across the face. My stepmother coldly snapped, "Did you hear what your sister said?" My mom was a young lady from Beijing's elite circles. When she was young, her suitors were as numerous as the fish in the river. Stunningly beautiful, with a bold and outgoing personality. Everyone thought she would marry a favored son of heaven, stay home as a full-time wife, support her husband and raise children. But she ended up marrying my dad Song Zhengxun, an orphan with no parents. To be more precise, he married into her family. My mom inherited the family business and became a formidable career woman who struck fear in the business world. My dad was indifferent to worldly affairs, cared little for fame and fortune, and was content to stay home cooking and making soup for his wife and daughter. He always played the role of a good husband and good father. Everyone praised him, saying my mom married a good man. Until the day of my mom's funeral, when the lawyer announced that all the property under her name would be inherited by me, with my dad receiving dividends monthly. He brought a bowl of hot soup to the study to see me, first inquiring warmly about my well-being. Just as the warmth was peaking, he abruptly said, "Xiaoxiao, since you're about to go abroad for university, why not hand the company over to me to manage first? I'll give it back to you after you graduate from university." Although his tone was consultative, I saw ambition and greed in his eyes. Suddenly, my mom's last reminder to me flashed through my mind. Be careful of your dad. At the time, I thought my mom was making a big deal out of nothing. She schemed and calculated in the business world. That was fine. That she even had to be wary of my dad at home. Wasn't that exhausting? But now, I realized her words held some truth. I smiled faintly and refused. Inheriting the company was Mom's dying wish. You're still young and don't understand the deceit and trickery in the business world. I'm afraid you'll get hurt. My dad spoke earnestly and kindly. Then he found countless reasons to persuade me to give up the idea of managing the company while studying. In the end, I shut them all down with one sentence. Have you forgotten? I've been learning by my mom's side since I was 14. I'm an old hand now. My dad's face immediately turned cold. This conversation between father and daughter ended unhappily. I thought my dad would give up then, content to live off the dividends peacefully. But I was still naive. The next day, he brought home a young, beautiful woman, only about 10 years older than me. My dad intimately held her and introduced her to me. "Xiaoxiao, this is your new mom." The woman leaned into my dad's arms, her exquisite eyes full of allure, staring straight at me. She clearly wasn't a proper woman. I was instantly furious. His image as a loving father shattered in my heart. Pointing at my mom's memorial photo, I angrily said, "Mom's body isn't even cold yet. How can you do this to her?" My dad no longer wanted to pretend. He wrote all his resentment toward my mom on his face. "Didn't your mom marry me back then just to make me a decoration?" Outsiders praised me, but behind my back they still ridiculed me as a spineless man who wouldn't have touched high society if he hadn't married her. We were husband and wife for so many years. Why should I not get any benefits? I was so angry my chest hurt, almost unable to catch my breath. My mom was right. She was right. My dad never understood the word contentment. Even worse, he also brought back an illegitimate son, registered under the stepmother's name. That illegitimate child had lived a hard life in the first half of his life. As soon as he stepped into the villa, he thought he had crossed social classes and become a wealthy young master, getting carried away with arrogance. He wore his dirty shoes inside, stepping on my expensive Tabriz carpet. That carpet was worth $68,500, a gift from my mom. Looking around, admiring the luxurious decor of the villa, he ordered the servants to move all the valuable items from the living room to his room. Completely unaware he was courting death, I pulled out the whip hanging from my waist and lashed him, sneering. Defective goods are defective goods, not even the most basic manners. The illegitimate child was hurt by the whip. He instinctively jumped to the other side, leaving 2 clear footprints on my carpet again. It hurt me to see it. He turned around, saw it was me hitting him, and got angry. How dare a woman hit me? Believe it or not, I'll have Dad kick you out. This bastard probably still hasn't figured out who really runs this household, right? I found his naivety laughable. Just as I was about to have him thrown out, my stepmother came downstairs from the second floor wearing a silk nightgown. I turned around and saw her staring venomously at me. Or perhaps at that illegitimate child. The illegitimate child saw the stepmother's curvaceous figure and his eyes lit up, letting out a frivolous whistle. You must be my mom, right? Hurry up and teach this little bitch a lesson, or I'll have Dad divorce you. His tone was arrogant, infuriating. Just as I was curious how the stepmother would choose, she rolled up her sleeves, quickly past me, and slapped him across the face, coldly snapping. Did you hear what your sister said? The illegitimate child never expected to be hit by 2 women in one day. He rushed off angrily to complain to my dad. Not daring to touch me, he decided to take out his anger on the stepmother. But the stepmother nimbly hid behind me and said, "From now on, I'm following Xiaoxiao." My dad's elegant face turned green, then pale, his expression darkening. Bang! He slapped the coffee table, furious, rebellious. The servants at home all trembled in fear, bowing their heads, holding their breath, not daring to make a sound. The illegitimate child, Song Hong too, looked even more pleased with himself, pointing at the floor. Feng Xiaoxiao, kneel down and apologize to me, or you'll be kicked out. As soon as he finished speaking, my dad's next slap landed on his face. How dare you speak to your sister like that? Song Hong too was stunned. Dad, I'm your only son. You're defending Feng Xiaoxiao. Can she carry on the family line? My dad was almost driven mad by his negative IQ. Carefully glancing at me, he issued a strict order. In short, in this household you must not disrespect your sister. Song Hong too didn't dare disobey his order. Covering the spot where he was hit, he shot me a fierce glare. My dad then came back to apologize to me. Xiaoxiao, he's still young and doesn't understand. Please don't take it to heart. You are siblings, bound by blood. You'll need to support each other in the future. Support each other. That might be the most absurd thing I've ever heard. I leisurely finished a cup of tea, put down the teacup and scoffed. You're really something, old man. Even after Mom turned into a ghost, you could still make me a brother. My dad choked, his face full of embarrassment. At that moment, the last bit of affection I had for him vanished. Who would have thought? His acting skills were actually that good. He pretended for over 20 years, only showing his true colors after my mom died. Back then, marrying into the Feng family was probably to exploit and take over the family fortune, right? But this pie is too hot to handle, not necessarily easy to swallow. I didn't want to say more to him and got up to go upstairs. My stepmother hesitated for a moment, then chased after me, calling out, "Zhao!" I turned around sharply like a cold-faced executioner, startling her into immediate silence. What is it? My tone was very cold. At least so far, I had no good feelings toward her or Song Hong too. Her whole body exuded a scent of the underworld, especially that waist, absolutely stunning. It swayed as if boneless, soft and supple. I frowned, feeling somewhat displeased. Both were slender waists. But how could the difference between hers and my mom's be so huge? She seemed to notice my displeasure, her expression growing more anxious. Carefully, she said, "I came to pledge my allegiance to you. You're following my dad just fine, and you have a son to rely on. Isn't that good enough? Pledge allegiance? I don't want to keep a ticking time bomb by my side." With that, I turned to leave. In her anxiety, the stepmother blurted out, "I've been with your dad since I graduated from university. For about 4 or 5 years now." I was shocked and stopped in my tracks. She closed her eyes and spilled everything out in one go. "Over the years, your dad has been involved with many university students under the guise of charity. I'm one of them. Then why did he marry you and bring you home? Probably because he thought I'm about your age, so you'd let your guard down. So, my dad had been unfaithful since I was 14. No wonder my mom suddenly decided to take me to the company to teach me back then. She worked overtime until very late every day. After finishing my homework at her company and coming home, I'd see my dad alone at home, lonely and pitiful, and felt sorry for him. I asked my mom to spend more time with him. Not exposing, not fighting, not divorcing aside from fearing the division of assets. She probably also wanted to create the illusion of a happy family for me, right? Among wealthy families, there are plenty of examples of parents who don't get along and neglect their children after having them. I once prided myself on having a happy and perfect family. In the end, it was all a beautiful dream carefully woven for me by my mom. Now that she's dead, I must face the coldness and dangers after waking from that dream alone. I felt an inexplicable tightness in my chest, an indescribable feeling. I let out a long sigh, holding back the tears that were about to spill. Then I turned and went back to my room. It took me a long time to sort through my thoughts. My mom was dead. According to her will, her share of the inheritance all went to me. But the marital property, my dad still had his portion. That portion could easily end up entirely in Song Hongchu's hands. Moreover, he was also eyeing what I held. How could I stop him? I racked my brains but couldn't think of a countermeasure for now. So I planned to go downstairs for a glass of water and incidentally clear my head. Little did I expect to witness the heartwarming scene of the two Songs, father and son, bonding. He was gently rolling a boiled egg over Song Hongchu's swollen face, asking softly, "Did it hurt?" At this, Song Hongchu grew indignant. "Dad, I'm your only son, yet you actually hit me for her sake." My dad was also full of helplessness. My original plan was to take over the company after Feng Xiaoxiao died. Once your sister reached the right age, send her off for a marriage alliance. Then the entire Feng family would be ours. Who knew that bitch actually had a backup plan? The more he thought about it, the angrier he got. With a forceful squeeze, the egg crushed in his hand. Song Hongchu, infected by his anger, spat and cursed. Scheming women. How despicable. So, you need to be patient and gain your sister's trust. Then everything will be easy. My dad lovingly patted his head, whispering instructions. Song Hongchu thumped his chest in assurance. "Dad, don't worry. I'll definitely coax that little girl into submission." Hidden in the darkness, I listened clearly to their conversation from start to finish. My hand gripping the glass slowly tightened, so hard my knuckles turned white. "Since you're the ones who provoked me, don't blame me for being ruthless." The next day, Song Hongchu's attitude toward me indeed did a complete 180. When I came downstairs, he got up to greet me. Not only was he all smiles, but he also considerately pulled out a chair for me. "Sis, you're up?" He was wearing Mingyi High School's uniform. Dress shirt, tie, suit pants, not a piece missing. He was dressed respectably enough, but it still couldn't hide the petty air emanating from his very bones. I walked past him and sat in the headseat. Song Hongchu's efforts to please went unnoticed. Suppressing his anger, he reminded me, "That's Dad's seat." I couldn't even be bothered to give him a glance. When my mom was in charge before, she sat here. Now that I'm the head of the household, it's naturally my turn. As for you, I lifted my chin, looking toward the far end of the long table. "You should sit there." "Why?" He was both shocked and confused. "You're an illegitimate child, a product of secrecy at the bottom of the food chain." I tilted my head to look at him, eyes smiling, softly asking in return, "Is that hard to understand, my dear brother?" My repeated use of illegitimate child hit his sore spot. He clenched his fists, about to explode. Fortunately, my dad came downstairs just in time. Otherwise, he would have tasted my whip again. My dad placated him with gentle words, pushing and shoving him to the seat I designated. The entire morning, the atmosphere was extremely heavy and tense. The servants silently went about their tasks, not daring to speak more, fearing they might upset their masters. My stepmother just ate obediently, not even daring to let her eyes wander. After the meal, Song Zhengchun instructed the driver, "Uncle Cao, take the young master." I finished the last bite of breakfast, picked up a napkin to wipe my mouth and cut him off. "Sorry, Uncle Cao needs to take me to school." My dad was stunned, his face full of surprise. "Didn't you already get accepted into a foreign university? You don't need to attend classes anymore." I lifted my lips in a bright smile, kindly reminding him, "Dad, did you forget? I'm going to inherit the company. Of course I need to stay in the country for the college entrance exams." With that, regardless of the expressions on the faces of the father and son, I led Uncle Cao away. He actually managed to get Song Hong-tu enrolled in the elite school I attended, Mingi High School. This place had top-tier educational resources, a holy ground for wealthy families to cultivate their heirs. It was also a transit station for those playboys to muddle through before going abroad to gild their credentials after high school. In short, the best and the worst were all here. Yesterday, I had dismissed or reassigned all the other family drivers. Only Uncle Cao, who had followed my mom for over a decade, remained. My dad didn't know how to drive. After all that fuss, he ended up calling a taxi for Song Hong-tu. It's not that taking a taxi is particularly demeaning, but on a plaza filled with all kinds of luxury cars, it was quite attention-grabbing. My best friend Song Ai and I leaned against the second-floor railing, perfectly overlooking the entire plaza. We happened to see Song Hong-tu getting out of the car. The plaza was bustling with people, handsome boys and pretty girls, all with outstanding bearing. It was Song Hong-tu's first time seeing such a grand, luxurious school. Like Granny Liu entering the Grandview Garden for the first time, he looked around everywhere. Song Ai frowned and asked me, "That's your so-called brother?" I answered distractedly. Leaning on the railing, lost in thought, I heard Song Ai mutter, "Has the same surname as me. How unlucky." Song Ai's parents had a marriage of alliance, no emotional foundation, each playing their own games. However, the two were very unified on one point. She was the family's sole heir. Song Ai asked me, "Want me to help you deal with him?" "Forget it. The college entrance exams are almost here. Save your energy for studying." I pulled Song Ai into the classroom. Song Hong-tu finally found the classroom. As soon as he entered, he was met with the scrutiny and examination of the entire class. Even though he held his head high and puffed out his chest to appear confident, he couldn't help but reveal some underlying timidity. His eyes locked onto my figure, and he called out affectionately, "Sis," with a hint of expecting me to back him up and take his side. I pretended not to see, casually twirling my pen, and turned to ask Song Ai beside me, "Ai, did you just hear a dog bark?" Song Ai suppressed her laughter and played along. "Yes, and he barked quite loudly." As soon as she finished, the whole class couldn't help but burst into loud laughter. The laughter was so loud it almost blew the roof off. On his very first day, Song Hong-tu became the laughingstock of everyone. See, a young master title isn't your ticket into high society. There's a long road ahead. If you can't even bear this little hardship, you might as well go back where you came from. In ancient terms, the students in this class were all the legitimate sons and daughters of their families, traditionally looking down on mingling with illegitimate offspring. My dad sent Song Hong-tu here intending to broaden his horizons and expand his social network. But he clearly miscalculated. Song Hong-tu endured a day of torment. After school, he followed closely behind me step by step. That pitiful look made it seem like I had bullied him. I frowned in disgust. "Why are you following me?" Dad said, "No matter the situation, I must stick close to you, sis." At this moment, Song Hong-tu had shed yesterday's arrogance and learned to lower his head. I had initially intended to shoo him away, but suddenly thought of something and changed my mind. Smiling brilliantly, "In that case, come with me." My ready agreement actually gave Song Hong-tu pause, his eyes full of wariness. He should be wary. He'll have a tough time soon. My mom was a decisive, heroic, and capable businesswoman. Besides closing deals, her way of relieving stress was competitive activities like horseback riding. Now, our group stood outside the riding arena. Inside, spirited horses galloped freely, swift as the wind, carefree and joyful. Watching them stirred my heart. I took down the riding crop hanging from my waist. I couldn't wait to go in and ride. Song Hong-tu caught sight of my movement, seemingly recalling yesterday's painful experience, a flicker of fear crossing his face. Just then, a brash, clever-looking boy ran over from a distance. His face lit with joy. Shi Su, the second young master of the Shi family. Utterly unruly. Back then, he had just flirted with some girl, and the next moment came eagerly confessing to me, to the point where he developed a conditioned fear upon seeing me, and for a long time didn't dare provoke me. Right now, it seemed he had forgotten the pain once the wound healed. When he stopped and saw Song Hong-tu standing beside me, his thick brows furrowed in disdain. Feng Xiaoxiao, your taste is getting weirder. You actually took a liking to someone like this. His gaze swept over Song Hongtu's trembling legs from top to bottom, delivering a sharp assessment. Coward. That was the most genuine, powerful mockery from a fellow male. Song Hongtu instantly broke, his neck stiffening as he shouted, I'm not a coward. I am the future heir of the Feng family. To prove himself, he strained so hard the veins on his neck and forehead bulged. Shisu's smile faded. He glanced at me, immediately understanding his identity, and pointed to the riding arena. Then dare to race me? Song Hongtu's entire body screamed refusal, but upon meeting Shisu's contemptuous look, a rebellious streak emerged, and he accepted the challenge. Fine, let's race. Great! Before going to the stables to choose horses, Shisu leaned close to my ear and whispered, Wait, I'll take care of him for you. From start to finish I remained silent, indifferent. Song Hongtu couldn't handle being provoked, sought his own punishment, asked for trouble, none of my damn business. Shisu was already an old hand. He mounted the horse with ease, proudly tilting his chin towards me outside the arena. He tightened his legs around the horse's belly and cantered a couple of laps around the field. Meanwhile, Song Hongtu was still on the ground, struggling even to mount. Shisu looked down at him from above, continuing his mockery. If you can't do it, don't force it. After all, not everyone gets the chance to learn riding from childhood. Know your place. Don't covet things that don't belong to you. Song Hongtu lowered his head in silence, gritted his teeth, hardened his heart and stepped onto the stirrup, wanting to mount in one go. But he accidentally kicked the horse during the process. Before he could get on, the horse threw him off. He landed on his backside, face up. A little more, and the horse's hoof would have landed on him. Supported by someone, he hobbled out of the riding arena, his face twitching in pain. Seeing me, he ordered me around like a servant, shouting, I want to go home. Figure it out yourself. I couldn't be bothered with him. Turned and walked into the riding arena. Had 2 exhilarating races with Shisu. He lost to me. Shisu rubbed his nose sheepishly. Your horsemanship is getting better and better. At that moment, I was wiping the sweat off my face with a towel. After a good sweat, I felt immensely refreshed both physically and mentally. Hearing this, I joked. My whip skills are also getting better. Want to experience them? Shisu's expression instantly tightened, and he shook his head hurriedly. No need. Bullying the weak and fearing the strong. I assessed him. Shisu was angry, but didn't dare speak. Song Hongtu was still in the lounge. I didn't call him when I left. Instead, I asked the riding arena staff to kindly call him a taxi, then went home in Shisu's car. Even though my dad had already broken character, he still clung to the script of the house husband. Hearing the doorbell. Go wash your hands for dinner. Dad made a whole table of good dishes today. This is our first reunion meal as a family of 3. Then his gaze looked behind me, not seeing the figure he expected, and paused. Where's your brother? He's coming. Speak of the devil. Song Hongtu hobbled in from outside, holding his waist. Son! My dad exclaimed in shock, threw down the spatula and hurried over anxiously, looking him up and down worriedly. What happened? Song Hongtu complained. It's all because of that bitch Feng Xiaoxiao. She actually teamed up with an outsider to bully me. Dad, you must get justice for me. My dad used his actions to prove to me just how much he cherished his precious son. He tore off the mask completely, not sparing any father-daughter affection. His face dark, he coldly rebuked me. Feng Xiaoxiao, didn't I tell you to be friendly and loving with your brother? You not only let others bully your brother but even abandoned him, letting him come back alone. You really are as hard-hearted and cold-blooded as your mother. Crack! I suddenly lashed out with my whip. The whip cut through the air, making a sharp, piercing sound. It coiled like a serpent, striking both of them. They howled in pain, jumping around on the spot. The sharp tip of the whip snapped against my dad's forearm, leaving a clear, red welt. A burning pain invaded his brain nerves. My dad was furious. Feng Xiaoxiao, you dare lay hands on me? At this moment, he looked like a ridiculous clown in my eyes. He had no authority left in my eyes, yet still vainly tried to pressure me with his fatherly status. Irritated, I dug at my ear, warning, "If you keep making noise, this young lady might resort to domestic violence." The only thing hard about them was their mouths. Before going upstairs, I took one last look at the father and son. Song Hung too tightly gripped my dad's sleeve. His eyes were clouded with gloom, suppressing immense hatred. There were only 2 months left until the college entrance exams. After the exams would be my 18th birthday, my coming-of-age ceremony. At that time, the will would take effect, and I would formally take over the company. For the remaining time, I wanted to keep my high school life a bit easier. I don't know if my dad gave him special coaching. Made Song Hung too deeply understand the true meaning of enduring humiliation to avenge a wrong. Recently, he dropped his arrogant attitude and started currying favor with the rich kids in class. The one he was most diligent toward was actually my nemesis Jiang Yujian. He loved bullying others the most. Once bullied a girl. After I found out, I covered his head with a sack and gave him a good whipping. I controlled my strength well, not enough to cause internal injury, but enough to make him hurt for a while. Even though he knew it was me, he lacked evidence. Now he could win over Song Hung too to annoy me. Why not? Song Hung too had just run an errand to buy him a drink. Song Hung too was flattered. "Thank you, brother Jian." Jiang Yujian also enjoyed being idolized by him. He turned back to give me a smug look, then suddenly lifted his legs, just resting them on my desk. He wore expensive shoes worth tens of thousands, but they couldn't contain his foot odor. "Don't be like that," Jiang Yujian grinned. "We're all classmates, just putting my feet up for a bit." It seems young Master Jiang lacked self-awareness. I abruptly stood up and walked out of the classroom. Before leaving, I heard him sharing his experience with Song Hung too. "See? Just women. If you're tough enough, how dare they not submit? Just women? Then let them see what just women are capable of." I went to an abandoned classroom and found a metal stool leg, weighed it in my hand heavy enough. Must hurt to hit someone, right? Thud. I lightly tapped it. The moment the metal stool leg made contact with the desk, the sound was dull and forceful. The noisy classroom instantly fell silent, everyone turning to look at me suspiciously. Jiang Yujian still had that cocky look. "If you can't learn to respect others, then you don't need these legs." My face cold, I gave an evil smirk. Jiang Yujian finally realized the seriousness of the situation, regretted provoking me, and backed far away. "Feng Xiaoxiao, don't do anything rash." "Coward," I sneered, growing more contemptuous of these trash. With a light toss, the metal stool leg landed accurately at his feet, making a crisp sound. I turned to the class monitor. "I don't want this desk and chair anymore. Get me new ones." "Xiaoxiao, darling, you're so cool." She's my mindless fan. I could do anything and she'd praise it endlessly. To this, I've grown accustomed. After hearing a wave of her rainbow praise as usual, Song A got to the point. "My second uncle's welcome back banquet is tomorrow night. Do you want to come?" Song Ai's second uncle, Song Mingyan, is Grandpa Song's son born late in life. He was studying abroad and recently returned. Only 22 or 23, in the prime of youth. Song Ai had a sudden inspiration. "Xiaoxiao, darling, my second uncle likes exactly your type. How about I introduce him to you as a boyfriend after the college entrance exams?" I said, "Liking my type, unless he's a masochist. I'm notoriously violent in elite circles. If my mum was the white moonlight of their generation, then I'm the black moonlight of my generation." Song Ai winked at me. Maybe my second uncle does have some special quirks. "Second uncle, are you being polite?" Speechless, I pushed her face away, cutting off the topic. "See you tomorrow." This welcome banquet for Song Mingyan was grandly arranged. Everyone of importance in the circles would attend. My dad prepared early, standing in front of the mirror, applying hair gel and styling. Despite years of meticulous care, he couldn't save his rapidly receding hairline. This time, he gave Song Hung too a slicked back hairstyle. How to describe it? More and more like a good-for-nothing street thug. Uncle Cao came to pick me up on time. My dad wanted to go together. "A family neat and tidy shows respect for this banquet," I said. "Dad, Grandpa Song probably doesn't really want to see you." After saying that, I left in the car first. After I dismissed the other family drivers, he suggested hiring a few more. I ruthlessly refused. Times are different. Can't be too extravagant. The family's money is managed by my mom's trusted aides. All income and expenses are reported to me monthly. And back then, to build his image as a virtuous husband and father, there weren't many servants at home. He handled big and small matters himself. Now he's suffering in silence. Changing the subject, I smiled. But Dad, if you want, you can hire a driver yourself. The salary comes from your personal account. Too bad he's stingy. A miser won't part with a penny. For this banquet, Song A had a formal dress custom-made for me a month in advance. We wore the same color and style. Lake blue one-shoulder fishtail gowns. We even had the same hairstyle. When we appeared in the hall holding hands, it caused quite a stir. Under the bright crystal chandeliers, we were like mermaids emerging from the water. Breathtakingly beautiful. They all thought we were twin sisters. I calmly accepted everyone's attention, staying close by Song Ai's side. She introduced me to the Song family elders. This is my best friend, Feng Xiaoxiao. As for the two Songs, father and son, they weren't worthy of a name. They trailed behind me for a round, and others didn't even spare them a glance. The news of my dad remarrying immediately after my mom's death and bringing back an illegitimate son had spread throughout elite circles. He was originally a live-in son-in-law, and now with his bad conduct, naturally, people despised him. But the more dangerous person was me. I was isolated and without support. Every family had their eyes on me, watching fiercely, waiting for the right moment to tear me apart and devour me. This time I came to this welcome banquet. Firstly because Song Ai invited me, and secondly to find a powerful backer. Clearly Song Ai understood me. She kept introducing me to her family. The better the Song family treated me, the more others would be wary. Finally, Song Ai led me in front of Grandpa Song. Grandpa Song was over 60, but still had a youthful face and robust health despite his age. "Oh, Xiaoxiao is here. Come, let Grandpa take a look." I obediently walked up to Grandpa Song. He took my hand, his kind expression tinged with a bit more heartache. Good, good. The little girl is getting more and more lovely. Your mom would be very comforted watching from heaven. You'll definitely be even more capable than your grandfather in his day. Holding up the Feng family. It had been a long time since anyone spoke to me so sincerely. Grandpa Song's words made my eyes feel a bit warm. But before I could muster my emotions, my dad rushed over from the side. His face all smiles, fawning. "You flatter her, Elder Song. Xiaoxiao doesn't deserve such praise." Instantly, Grandpa Song's expression turned cold. He glanced at him and sneered. "Xiaoxiao's surname is Feng, not Song. Why are you so excited?" My dad's smile stiffened, and he explained awkwardly. "She's my daughter." "Daughter?" Grandpa Song was even more dismissive. I'd never seen a father bring a stepmother and illegitimate child home right after his wife died. My dad's true nature exposed in public. His face was full of humiliation. But out of respect for Grandpa Song's status, "Xiaoxiao, don't be afraid. I'll find you a new dad." His gaze swept over, landing on the well-dressed, handsome Song Mingyan, his eyes lighting up. "I think you're quite suitable. From now on, you'll be Xiaoxiao's dad." Song Mingyan. At most, Song Mingyan was only 4 or 5 years older than me. I withdrew my hand from Grandpa Song's grip, massaging his back and shoulders, saying obediently, "Grandpa Song, please don't joke around. Second Uncle Song is still so young. Being my dad isn't appropriate." Grandpa Song pondered for a while, then nodded. "That's true." I breathed a sigh of relief. Thinking he would drop the idea, he changed direction, saying, "Then, what do you think about him being your kept man? Second Uncle Song is destined not to inherit. If you like him, you can keep him." Song Mingyan, who had been quietly standing behind Grandpa Song, a flicker of helplessness passing through his clear dark eyes. It seemed even he hadn't seen a father who could give away his son so easily. Grandpa Song meant well, but I wasn't fortunate enough to enjoy it. With playful banter, the topic was quickly diverted. Having been by my mom's side for years, I'd attended quite a few banquets and social gatherings like this. This was the first time I was dealing with clients independently. They addressed me as young Miss Feng. All smiles, full of compliments. Amidst the toasts and drinks, I inevitably had some alcohol. My head felt a bit fuzzy. Pushing away Song Ai's support, I went alone to the balcony to get some air and sober up. I ran a hand through my carefully permed curls. A rare sense of helplessness washing over me. The city's skyscrapers were ablaze with lights, brilliant and dazzling. Compared to the dazzling neon lights, those few stars in the sky seemed so lonely. Without looking carefully, you wouldn't even notice them. I tilted my head, staring blankly, suddenly wondering, Mom... would she be watching me from up there? Just as I was feeling sad, Song Ai popped out from behind, hooking an arm around my shoulder, saying, Xiaoxiao, don't be unhappy. My grandpa is your grandpa. My second uncle is your second uncle too. She turned to look at me, her bright almond-shaped eyes brimming with laughter. Just seeing her made one unconsciously happy. I took a deep, heavy breath, regained my smile, and asked her, Want some juice? I'll go get it. Song Ai nodded slightly, staying where she was to wait for me. But when I returned, I saw several dark shadows darting across the balcony wall. A beautiful flash of blue skirt quickly disappeared from my sight. Not good. A bad premonition arose in my heart. I hurriedly chased after them. Only had time to see a few black-clad bodyguards covering for each other, quickly retreating into the emergency staircase. They took the elevator to another floor. The figure of the last person looked somewhat familiar, like Jiang Yujian, if he did this to get back at me. Then he mistook Song Ai for me and kidnapped her. Crash! The more I thought about it, the more scared I became. My hand unconsciously loosened. The glass fell to the ground and shattered. Splattered juice stained my skirt. I lifted my skirt and returned to the venue to find Song Mingyan. He was probably looking for us too. He quickly spotted me in the crowd and strode over, his gaze searching around me. Where's Ayahi? It's time for the family photo. Ayahi's been kidnapped. My voice held a rare urgency and fear. Hearing this, Song Mingyan's face darkened. He pulled out his phone and made a call to his assistant, then strode off towards the security monitoring room. While checking the surveillance footage, my hands kept trembling. Regret, lingering fear, and worry tangled into a net in my heart, tightly binding it, leaving me no peace. We pulled up surveillance from the entire hotel, and finally spotted them. Jiang Yujian covered Song Ai's mouth and nose with his hand, dragging her into the elevator. There seemed to be something like a knockout drug in his palm. Song Ai quickly lost consciousness, her head hanging low. Jiang Yujian looked ferocious, wearing a sinister, triumphant grin. After exiting the elevator and entering a hotel room, he pushed aside Song Ai's hair, suddenly spat and said, Not good. He pushed her into a bodyguard's arms, then led the group out of the room in a hurry. He must have realized he'd grabbed the wrong person. This time, the elevator they took went directly to the underground parking garage. After Song Mingyan gave an order, his bodyguards quickly surrounded and intercepted them. They were successfully stopped as they exited the elevator. Song Mingyan was tall and imposing, his aura powerful, cold glints flashing in his dark eyes. Just standing there made people feel intimidated. Not to mention Jiang Yujian had kidnapped his own niece, making him even more guilty and unable to speak clearly. Second Uncle Song? Song Mingyan looked past him at the unconscious Song Ai, his expression turning colder, instructing his men. Call the police. Jiang Yujian panicked instantly, explaining, Uncle, it's a misunderstanding. All a misunderstanding. Misunderstanding my ass. I was furious. Pulled the whip from the small bag hanging at my waist, cracked it on the ground, making an intimidating sound. The next second, the whip struck Jiang Yujian's leg. Seeing this, his bodyguards moved to act, but they were intimidated and overpowered by the large number of Song family bodyguards who arrived, not daring to act rashly. The police came and took Jiang Yujian away. I stayed in the lounge waiting for Song Ai to wake up. My heart was still racing. She was almost implicated because of me. Song Ai was such a bright, lively girl, loyal to her friends. She shouldn't have suffered this unwarranted disaster. I anxiously watched over her for 2 hours. She finally woke up safe and sound. The first thing she said upon opening her eyes was, I wish it had been me who was kidnapped. Then my grandpa, mom and dad, and second uncle would definitely not let them off. I tightly held her hand, burying my face in my palm, unable to hide my emotions. Sobbing and crying out loud, Song Mingyan stood to the side, quietly watching me. His expression was somber and difficult to read. After comforting Song Ai, Song Mingyan took me home. Getting out of the car, he suddenly said to me, "I've arranged a bodyguard for you. He'll arrive tomorrow." Before I could refuse, he drove off in a cloud of dust. In the living room, Song Hong-tu was sprawled casually on the sofa, legs crossed, looking like a complete thug. He said, "Dad, I guarantee Feng Xiaoxiao will be finished this time. When she comes back, she'll be damaged goods. Then won't she be at our mercy?" My dad looked up from his newspaper and asked him, "Oh, what did you do?" His casual tone held a hint of hidden delight. Not sure if he was delighted his son had improved, or that I, his daughter, would finally no longer be in his way. "You know Jiang Yujian, right? All my groveling these days to please him wasn't in vain." He finally agreed to help me deal with Feng Xiaoxiao. He sat up, his tone excited, seemingly certain the plan would succeed. Hearing this, anticipation also surfaced in my dad's eyes. I paused at the entrance for a few seconds, changed my shoes, entered the room, and shattered his illusion. "Too bad, Jiang Yujian is already in jail." Song Hong-tu was incredulous. Double quotes. My dad only froze for a second. Realizing, he shot Song Hong-tu a warning glare, immediately switched back to a loving smile, adjusted his glasses, and asked me gently, "Xiao, you're back?" Even though he'd just heard his son talk about plotting against me, now he could effortlessly switch back to his loving father persona. I couldn't help but sneer. "You really act out hypocrisy to perfection." My dad's smile stiffened. "Xiao, I couldn't be bothered to watch his act. Went upstairs to my room, threw myself onto the soft bed. The day's tense nerves finally had a chance to relax. This couldn't go on. I originally wanted to wait until I came of age to make plans, but reality mocked my naivety over and over again. After some thought, I went to my stepmother's room. A few days without seeing her, and she seemed to have become even more alluring. I pushed the door open abruptly, startling her. Zhao. Who is Song Hong-tu's birth mother?" I got straight to the point. Stepmother was taken aback, then answered, "Liu Feng." "Good. Take me to find her tomorrow," I said. As I prepared to leave, I suddenly remembered something, turned back and asked her, "You've been with my dad for years. Why haven't I seen you have a child?" Mentioning this, stepmother's expression wasn't great, even a bit annoyed. "Don't bring it up. Your dad is really weak in bed. I once thought about getting pregnant to blackmail him for money, then leave for good. But I tried everything and couldn't get pregnant." "Couldn't get pregnant?" "In theory, my dad is in middle age. If he worked diligently, he could probably create a soccer team, right? Even if he's cautious, there must be those with ulterior motives, right?" I frowned, pondering. An unbelievable conjecture surfaced in my mind. The next day, I contacted a hospital to come and give everyone at home a full physical checkup. Song Hong-tu absolutely refused. The weasel wishing the chicken a happy new year suspicious. I smiled. "Aren't you afraid you might have some terminal illness?" "Dying would be good. Save us the eyesore." Song Hong-tu was furious, embarrassed. "Feng Xiaoxiao, if you can't speak properly, shut the hell up." After saying that, he cut in line to get the checkup. Indeed, this person couldn't handle provocation. I gave my dad Song Hong-tu's and my hair samples to the doctor. After ensuring both my dad and Song Hong-tu had finished their checkups, I led stepmother out. My dad was even happy. Joyfully saw me off. "You mother and daughter have a good time. Call me if you need more money." Thinking I was going shopping, the personal bodyguard arranged by Song Mingyan for me arrived. Waiting outside our villa, a very burly, strong man named Yunan. Heard he was ex-military. High combat value. There was also a car parked beside him. Seeing us come out, he respectfully nodded at me, actively opened the car door. Stepmother wanted to go to the passenger seat, but I pulled her into the back seat. After getting in, she kept looking at her phone, occasionally chuckling. Annoyed, I coldly asked, "What's so funny? Am I disturbing you?" Stepmother looked up from her phone, her face full of apology, saying, "I'm reading a story on Jihu, written by an author called Chen Yunan. Xiaoxiao. The two entertainment industry stories she wrote are really. She happily tried to recommend the stories to me, but her voice grew smaller and smaller under my icy expression. Dejectedly tossed her phone aside and stopped talking. The world was finally quiet, but I glanced casually. Aunt Cheng Yinen's stories were actually quite good. The black Bentley drove from the villa area into a narrow, dilapidated apartment building, and Yinan parked the car in a hidden spot and turned to tell me, "Miss, the road ahead is too narrow for the car. We need to walk." I nodded slightly and pushed the car door open. The road in this apartment building was terrible, full of potholes everywhere. "Xiaoxiao, the road is bad. Let me help you." Stepmother secretly observed my expression. Seeing me frown a little, she immediately offered to help. I slightly shifted aside, avoiding her help. Stepmother's outstretched hand hung in mid-air. She awkwardly laughed for a moment, then silently withdrew it. The walls along the road were covered with marks left by time. I glanced at them and told Stepmother to lead the way. We soon arrived in front of a small, simple house. The surroundings were crude and damp. So, my dad made the great contributor who bore him a son live in such a remote place. Too stingy, right? I looked around the area, finally settling my gaze on a plump, middle-aged woman hanging clothes in the yard, hesitantly asking, "Is that Song Hongtu's mom's maid?" Stepmother clicked her tongue, her expression complicated. "That is Song Hongtu's mom." "Uh-huh. My dad likes this type of woman." Stepmother's expression was also hard to describe. Nodding firmly. Yes, he's particularly fond of this type of woman. Well, others' preferences are personal freedom. Can't criticize too much." I took a deep breath, tightened my grip on the small bag in my hand, and walked in. When the plump woman saw me, not only was she not surprised, she even accurately guessed my identity. "You must be Zheng Chun's daughter, Feng Xiaoxiao, right?" She poured a glass of water for me, her tone flat. "When Zheng Chun and I get married in the future, I'll treat you as my own." Her attitude of declaring sovereignty amused me. I raised my eyelids slightly and asked her, "Auntie, are you sure you want to say these things in front of my dad's legally wedded wife?" Stepmother was standing right beside me. Her posture was alluring. She lightly smoothed her carefully styled, short-permed hair, refined like her, completely incomparable to the aged, middle-aged woman before us. The plump woman glanced over and cursed. "A vixen? Who are you calling that?" Stepmother was outraged by the unwarranted insult. "Zheng Xun and I are legally protected, a proper marital relationship." "Yes, that's right." I nodded in affirmation. "I only recognize this one as my stepmother." Hearing my words, Stepmother was moved to tears. "Xiaoxiao, from now on I'll stand by your side even more firmly." The plump woman still didn't care. "Zheng Xun loves me." Just then, a drunken figure staggered out from inside the house, pointing at the plump woman and commanding, "Fang, go get me some peanuts. I want to keep drinking." He pointed at the sky, stumbled forward, almost falling. Seeing him, the plump woman's expression clearly changed. She started shooing us away with a broom. "You're not welcome here. Get out, all of you." Stepmother and I were driven out. She slammed the door shut. "What kind of people are they?" Stepmother spat. I stared at her closed door, deep in thought. Out of the corner of my eye, I suddenly saw someone next door looking over with amused eyes. She stood there brazenly, holding a handful of sunflower seeds, cracking them. You know what they say? The aunties at the village entrance, endless gossip. "Auntie, I just want to ask you something." I smiled and walked towards her, opening my small bag a crack to show the red inside. The auntie's eyes lit up. She threw away the seed shells, wiped her hands, incredibly enthusiastic. "You ask, Auntie will tell you everything I know." When we left, Stepmother was still dazed, unable to snap out of the shocking gossip. My dad endured for over 20 years, just waiting for my mum to die so he could take over. In the end, he got played by someone else. At this point, my intuition grew stronger. I just needed the paternity test results to verify right or wrong. The Bentley drove all the way back to the villa. Stepmother couldn't wait to open the car door, but I stopped her from getting out. "You know what to tell my dad, right?" Stepmother stiffened. Looking back at my icy expression, she honestly nodded. I touched the small leather bag at my waist. Inside was my riding crop. I've carried it with me for years. I said, if you're obedient when this is over, I'll let you stay at home in your old age. But if you dare play tricks behind my back, my whip won't spare you. Stepmother had seen me use the whip on people. Hearing this, she nodded hurriedly, promising, Xiaoxiao, I definitely won't betray you. I gave an get out. With permission, stepmother scurried away. I closed my eyes, trying to think from my mom's perspective. If she had faced these things, how would she have handled them? Her marriage shouldn't have failed so badly. After the kidnapping of Song AI, security measures at the Song residence were significantly tightened. Every vehicle entering or leaving underwent strict inspection. When we arrived, Jiang Yujian's parents were sitting in the living room, seeking forgiveness. Grandpa Song was furious upon learning what had happened to Song AI, and demanded that the culprit be severely punished. Mrs. Jiang wailed, He's my only son. Please, elder Song, have some sympathy for a mother's love. Besides, Yujian only kidnapped the wrong person. He never meant to harm Miss Song. Grandpa Song let out a cold laugh, his cane thumping loudly on the floor. So you think Xiaoxiao deserved to be violated by your son? Jiang's parents stammered, unable to respond. Standing at the doorway, I listened with a cold sneer in my heart. Ultimately, they simply thought a lone girl like me was easy to bully. Ruining me would also allow them to take advantage of the chaos and carve up my family's company. Seeing Grandpa Song about to lose his temper, I quickly walked over and patted his back to calm him down. Grandpa, don't waste your anger on these beasts. It's not worth harming your health over them. Whoever responds is won. I shot them a cold glare. Mrs. Jiang was intimidated by the chill in my eyes and fell silent, too frightened to speak. Butler, throw them all out. If they ever come again, just set the dogs on them. Jiang's parents left in disgrace. Later, they tried to use their connections to bail Jiang Yujian out, but their company's accounts were exposed for irregularities, putting them at risk of investigation. Overwhelmed with troubles, they had no time to deal with Jiang Yujian's situation. Song Mingyan submitted some evidence, successfully ensuring Jiang Yujian ended up where he dreamed of, behind bars. After all, Jiang Yujian was never clean to begin with. He had only avoided trouble before because his father covered for him. Song AI, who had just woken up from her nap, was delighted to see me. Xiaoxiao. She took my hand and led me to the bar. You're just in time, I have something good to share with you. She took a bottle of drink from the cabinet and poured me a glass. Pointing at the bubbling beverage, she asked mysteriously, Do you know what this is? Cola. Song AI wagged her finger, correcting me. To be precise, it's awesome cola. Perhaps disappointed by my lack of amazement, the little girl pouted. Don't you think it's amazing? I invented this new product by mixing mint with cola. I'm planning to patent and sell it. Me? As long as you're happy. Song AI was a bit deflated but quickly cheered up. Then let me show you something even more amazing. She dragged me to the second-floor study, secretly opened the safe, and took out a jar. The jar was brownish yellow and filled with pill-sized pellets. Song AI explained, This is the latest product from my second uncle's lab super vitality pills. Take one and you'll stay energetic all night. What on earth was all this? To be honest, Song AI's introduction shattered my idealized image of Song Mingyan. I took a deep breath, constantly reminding myself, no matter what he researched, it was ultimately for the progress of humanity. Song AI. Just as Song AI was enthusiastically introducing me to Song Mingyan's various bizarre products, a gentle voice suddenly sounded from the doorway. Second uncle? Guilt-ridden, Song AI stammered. How are you here? Song Mingyan raised an eyebrow, reminding her. This is my study. Song AI hid behind me, whispering, I just brought Xiaoxiao here to help her get to know you better. Oh, really? Song Mingyan's tone carried a hint of amusement. His gentle gaze swept over me. Let's go downstairs for dinner. I stayed at the Song residence for a while to keep Song AI company. During these days, Yanin sent me photos one after another. A week later, Ri Heiyang, my mother's former private doctor, also sent me a message. The results are ready. At that time, we were all sitting in the living room chatting. Upon receiving Ri Heiyang's message, I immediately excused myself. Grandpa, I have something urgent to attend to. I need to leave now. Song AI let out a surprised, "Ah," and looked somewhat resentful. Fortunately, Grandpa Song didn't stop me. "Come back when you're done." "Okay." Song Mingyan picked up his jacket from the back of the chair and stood up as well. "I'll take you." Hospital Ri Haiyang was of Chinese-Japanese mixed heritage. Wearing a white coat and gold-rimmed glasses, he exuded an intellectual air, though his eyes behind the glasses held a sharp edge. My mother once told me that Ri Haiyang was too calculating. Ordinary people couldn't handle him. It was better to be friends with him than enemies. But his abilities were exceptional, earning him my mother's trust. When we arrived, he was feeding his girlfriend tiramisu. He scooped a spoonful and brought it to her lips, but she turned her head away. The spoon touched her cheek, leaving a smear of cream at the corner of her mouth. Ri Haiyang's eyes darkened, his Adam's apple bobbing as he said in a low voice, "Be good, Jiao. Have one more bite." His girlfriend pouted, complaining, "Ri Haiyang, I'm not a pig you're raising. I'm already full." Witnessing this scene, I felt somewhat awkward, unsure what to do. Who knew the usually calm, composed and scheming Ri Haiyang had such a doting side? In contrast, Song Mingyin seemed completely at ease. He knocked on the door with his knuckles. Interrupted during their intimate moment, Ri Haiyang was clearly displeased, his gaze sharp and cold. He took a folder from the drawer and handed it to me. "Everything you need is in here." This medical checkup involved two things: examining my father's health and conducting a paternity test. After reading the report, I was deeply unsettled. My father was actually infertile, and the two paternity tests showed that neither Song Hongtu nor I were biologically related to him. I stared blankly at the scenery outside the car window, until I noticed the car gradually slowing down and pulling over by the roadside. Outside the window was a cake shop named Listen to the Wind. Song Mingyan got out of the car, bought a tiramisu, and handed the bag to me. I looked at him in confusion. He explained, "Eating something sweet can help when you're feeling down." "Tea, thank you." This sudden care felt abrupt, and I was too emotionally numb to know how to accept it. Song Mingyin, however, seemed unfazed. He placed the bag aside and continued driving me home. During my absence, my stepmother had worked her charm, keeping my father completely wrapped around her finger. Seeing this, Song Hongtu was furious. "Dad, don't forget about Mom." Embarrassed, he tried to push my stepmother away. As I entered, changing my shoes, I said softly, "Who taught you to speak to your elders like that?" "Xiaoxiao, you're back." My father immediately seized the opportunity to escape the awkward situation, pulling me aside to ask about my well-being and express how much he missed me. Song Hongtu shot me a fierce glare and cursed, "Why didn't you die out there? Dear brother, being too malicious will land you in hell after death." "All right. Now that the family is reunited, let's all calm down." He then went to the kitchen and prepared a lavish dinner. My father thoroughly enjoyed this meal with his beloved wife by his side, his son nearby, and his daughter finally softening her attitude and even serving him food. After the meal, he was so moved he nearly cried on the spot. I remained silent, quietly eating a segment of orange, expressionless. This was merely the calm before the storm. The next day, Yainin sent me a message. The drunken man I had bumped into that day had sneaked into the fat auntie's house again late at night, and hadn't left since. If I went early, I might catch them. Uncharacteristically, I kindly asked Uncle Cao to take Song Hongtu to school. Then, without explanation, I dragged my father to that place. As the scenery grew increasingly familiar, my father grew uneasy. "Xiao, where are you taking me?" "To meet your old flame, of course." We waited in the car for a while until the tightly shut door opened from inside. I quickly got out of the car. When the fat auntie saw me through the crack in the door, she panicked and instinctively tried to close it. I wedged my hand in and pushed the door open with a clever twist. "Da Fang, who is it?" A half-naked man emerged from inside, scratching his head, still groggy. The fat auntie snapped at him, "Get back inside." But it was too late. My father followed me in and came face to face with the man. 8 eyes met. The scene was almost comical. After a moment of stunned silence, my father reacted, swinging his fist at the man. Unfortunately, he was just a weak, bookish type and ended up getting beaten instead. The fat auntie tried frantically to break up the fight amidst the chaos, explaining to my father, "He's just a relative from my hometown." The man, now sober, nodded along with her explanation. I wasn't interested in their relationship. Sitting on a chair, I watched them weave their lies. Let's talk about whose son Song Hong-tu really is. My words shocked all three of them, who turned to stare at me in disbelief. My father was the most agitated. "Feng Xiaoxiao, what do you mean? I thought you had changed, but it seems a leopard can't change its spots." "Dad, I'll give you a chance to rephrase that." With that, I pulled the paternity test from my bag. "Zheng Xun, don't listen to this little brat's nonsense. She's just selfish and jealous, afraid you have a son. She wants all the property for herself." Seeing this, the fat auntie grew guilty. Cursing loudly, she tried to snatch the paternity test from me, intent on tearing it to shreds. The drunken man also reacted, attempting to corner me from both sides. I whipped out my belt, scaring them off, and successfully handed the paternity test to my father. He glanced at it, still convinced it was fake. He accused me of being scheming, just like my mother, who only knew how to manipulate others. The stubborn old fool refused to listen. I had initially hoped to avoid an ugly scene, but now I was furious. I threw a stack of photos in his face. "You're so desperate for a son, take a good look." The photos showed the two of them coming and going together, living openly as a couple, hardly just relatives from her hometown. After seeing them, my father's face darkened with betrayal. "Li Yuanfang, is Song Hong-tu really my biological son?" The fat auntie planted her hands on her hips, defiant. "Does blood relation really matter? You've raised him all these years and he's called you dad all this time. Can't you just treat him as your own?" The drunken man chimed in. "You got a son for free, and you're still complaining. How ungrateful." According to my father, he fell in love with my mother at first sight. After they married, however, he felt constantly overshadowed by her. People in their circle only respected him because of my mother. Outwardly successful, he was inwardly frustrated. During a trip back to his hometown to honor his ancestors, he drowned his sorrows in alcohol and ended up in a drunken haze with the fat auntie. Though she was plain-looking, she was gentle and caring. Afterward, she didn't take advantage of the situation, but instead sympathized with his struggles. My father's wounded heart found solace in her. Later, when he returned to the city, he nearly forgot about the incident until the fat auntie showed up at his doorstep, pregnant. A hospital check confirmed the timing matched. She didn't demand he take responsibility, only asked for a place to live in the city. My father let his guard down. Over time, with the fat auntie's skillful manipulation, the situation evolved into what it was today. Back at the villa, Song Hong-tu was putting on airs, ordering around the few remaining servants. Unfortunately, no one paid him any attention. Seeing us return, Song Hong-tu rushed over to complain. "Dad, fire all these people, they don't know their place at all." But instead of indulging him as usual, my father slapped him across the face, scolding, "You have no manners at all. Dad, you hit me again?" Song Hong-tu covered his cheek, stunned. My father had always spoiled him, which was why he had grown so arrogant. Even though he didn't particularly like the fat auntie, the fact that she had given him a son and asked for nothing in return made him treat her and her son better than he ever treated my mother and me. Now, with the father-son relationship exposed as a lie, decades of affection vanished instantly. My father sneered, "I hit you because you deserved it." Song Hong-tu was at a loss. Turning to me, he found an outlet for his anger. "Did you poison Dad against me, you bitch? Did I need to poison anyone?" With the lies and deceit exposed, my father's cold nature ensured he would sever ties immediately. He lunged at me, but I whipped my belt near his feet, freezing him in place. I turned to the butler. "Pack up young Master Song's things and send him back where he came from. Make sure he doesn't take anything from the villa with him." The butler, who had long awaited this day, immediately took action with the staff. Realizing he might truly be sent away, Song Hong-tu panicked. "Dad." My father ignored him and went straight upstairs. I found him in the study. Suddenly, he seemed decades older, his back hunched, his demeanor utterly defeated. Only a desk lamp was on in the study, casting dim light that made him look pitiful. "Dad," I called out softly. My father slowly looked up, his eyes meeting mine. Suddenly he said, At least I still have a daughter as outstanding as you. Now he remembers me. When he had a son to rely on, he was more than willing to use me as a pawn. His self-consolation seemed to work. He looked less defeated, as if preparing to reminisce about the past and reconnect with me. Before he could, I placed 2 other reports on the desk. He glanced at them, his voice trembling. What does this mean? I smiled faintly. Actually, I'm not your biological daughter either. His expression froze for a moment before he stood up abruptly, sweeping everything off the desk. Impossible. Your mother would never betray me. He was certain of this. They had been a normal couple who entered marriage as lovers. I crouched down to pick up the 2 reports from the floor, brushing off the dust. Calmly, I said, Indeed, my mother would never betray you. But you're infertile. Didn't you know that for over 20 years? I handed him the medical report. He snatched it, his hands trembling violently as he read. The more he read, the more despair filled his eyes until he finally broke down. Laughing hysterically, he slumped to the floor, muttering to himself. So that's why your mother never argued or made a fuss all these years. She was waiting for this moment, wasn't it? What karma? This is all karma. My father had always been a chauvinist. When he and my mother were trying to conceive, they struggled for a long time. They went to the hospital together for tests, and it was discovered that my father was the problem. Before my mother could think of how to comfort him, she overheard him complaining to his friends that she was a barren hen who forced him to get checked. Without a word, my mother provided the necessary documents to the hospital and conceived me through IVF. In other words, from the very beginning, my father had been kept in the dark. I didn't know how to judge such actions. But every cause has its effect. My father had brought this upon himself. For the sake of our years as father and daughter, I'll ensure you're cared for in your old age. From now on, you can live peacefully with your stepmother. Unfortunately, my stepmother had a change of heart, turned over a new leaf, and found her own purpose in life. With my support, she opened a beauty salon with a friend and had no time to indulge this wretched old man. On the day of the college entrance exams, it poured outside. Song Mingyan came to pick us up. As we got into the car, Song Ai hugged me and planted a big kiss on my cheek. Yay! Xiaoxiao, we're finally free. No more suffering through exams. Song Mingyan, from the driver's seat, said, You start your internship at the company in a week. Song Ai's enthusiasm was instantly doused. Second uncle, do you have to ruin the mood? Learn from Xiaoxiao. The Bentley drove into the rain. The entire city was enveloped in a misty, painting-like haze. My heart felt unprecedentedly light. The road ahead was clear, and the future was within reach. The end.